This month, the Philippines observed or celebrated a lot of fiestas. The Feast of the Black Nazarene, the Feast of the Santo Niño de Cebu and Tondo. And a lot of people actually defied the orders of authorities not to go to church or around churches because of the pandemic, but they still went. With us today is Dr. Jayeel Cornelio, a sociologist of religion from the Ateneo de Manila University, to help us understand this faith of the people. Jayeel, what can you say? Why is it that Filipinos and maybe even in other countries, Catholics, are going crazy with all these feasts and celebrations?
Right. First things first, Sir Joe, I'm very glad to be here and to be having this conversation with you and with all our audiences. I suppose, you know, they have a lot of things to learn, no, from the religiosity of Filipinos. Filipinos are arguably one of the most religious people in the world. Surveys will show that in terms of our beliefs, in terms of our practices, in terms of piety. So the devotion that Filipinos have towards certain images, saints, or the child Jesus, Santo Niño as we call it in the country, are really just different expressions of this bigger religiosity that Filipinos have had, you know, for hundreds of years now, and it will take some time before it really dies down. You know? It's because it's part of, and this is the answer to your question, it has become part of the identity of the ordinary Filipino. Of course, we know that there are many non-Catholics around. Of course, we know that there are many Muslims, Moros, in the South. But for many other Catholic Filipinos, to be Filipino is to be Catholic. That's not necessarily a right thing to say, you know, and in the sense that we're erasing, you know, the many other non-Catholics in the country, but for ordinary Filipinos, I think that would be an assumption, and it's so evident not just in our feasts, not just in the way we celebrate Christmas, not just in the way we celebrate Holy Week, but also in the very devotion that people have. So the devotion to the Black Nazarene, for example, is an example of how it is to be Catholic and Filipino, say for many of the urban poor who devote themselves to the Black Nazarene. You can say the same thing about the child Jesus in Cebu. It is to be Cebuano. Right. It is to be Cebuano, to be a devotee of the Santo Niño. Right. So it's part of the identity for many Filipinos. This is who we are.
Yeah, actually, it's also interesting that it used to be that devotions are for older people, but now I don't know based on your studies, but I noticed that during celebrations, there's a lot of young people.
Yes.
Young people lighting candles, joining religious processions. Aren't we going crazy? Is this the right Catholicism that we're practicing?
Well, it begs the question, what is right Catholicism and what is false Catholicism, diba? In fact, that's a very good point that you're raising. This is devotion to different saints and images in Catholic culture in the country is a testament to the vibrancy of religiosity. It's one thing to just look at mass attendance. Many sociologists like myself are interested in mass attendance as if it's the only indicator of Filipino religiosity. But if you rely on the statistics, on that particular data, then you realize, many Filipinos are not going to mass anymore. And that's true. Over just a span, since the 1990s up until now, it has really declined significantly, statistically speaking. But that is not the evidence of religiosity. Religiosity, especially for young people, is still, for many Filipinos, like it is for many Filipinos, is still very sacramental. It is still very tactile. You have to touch it. God has to be touched. at least as far as Catholicism is concerned, certainly not in the other religions, but like evangelical Christianity, but for Catholicism, God has to be touched. So the Black Nazarene, you have to touch it. At the Santo Niño, you have to be able to hold on to it.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is it false Catholicism? It is an expression of a deep affection for God. That's how I would put it.
And it's 500 years
500
old.
years, can you imagine? 500
Imagine,
years.
Filipinos have been touching the image of the Black Nazarene and dancing to the beat of the Sinolo.
Yeah.
This piety, this religiosity goes back to when the first Christians came to the Philippines 500 years ago, and it's very relevant this year because we're celebrating the anniversary, the 500th anniversary of the arrival of Christianity. And Filipinos are called to be missionaries to the world. But what kind of religiosity, what kind of Catholicism are we going to preach or to preach to the world?
I think the 500th anniversary of Christianity in the country raises exactly that question. And which, if I could rephrase it, I think this is the question. What does it mean to be Catholic in the world today? And there are two answers, really. Filipino Catholics, as agents of change, as missionaries that the church relies upon, right, to preach the gospel around the world, have to be able to answer this in only one of two ways. The first way is imperial, right? This is exactly how we receive Christianity in this country. Imperial. We cannot deny that. The image of Santo Niño, for all the devotion that Filipinos have toward it, really, you cannot deny that the image is imperial, right? It's
a king.
It's a king, exactly.
King.
It's a king. It's a king. It has arrived in the country, claiming the country, claiming the Philippines, right? So very imperial. I'm not sure that works. Although some people might still behave as if Christianity should be like that, imperial, no, colonial. The other is a little bit more humble, right? A witness. What does it mean to be a Christian witness to the world today? What does it mean to be a Christian witness to a world where inequality is real, where conflict is real? And we're talking about Asia. Asia is still largely an unequal society, you know, in terms of income, in terms of poverty, in terms of corruption. I feel, or injustices, I feel that Filipinos can, instead of being imperial, you know, instead of being simply saying that this is the truth, right?
That this is our God.
That this is our God and take it or leave it, right? They can become witnesses to how life could be so much better if done the kingdom way.
Yeah. So
done the Christ-like way.
Serving others.
Yeah.
Filipino migrant workers are known to be good examples of how to serve and how to care for others. And that's living their faith, no? And that's, I think, is more of preaching Christianity than saying that this is our gospel for today and this is God.
I think so. I think so. The reality of Christianity in Asia is that it makes sense to many Asians as it has been, as it has to us Filipinos, because Christianity adapts. Right? It localizes. That's the sociological term. It is relevant to the situation of Filipinos, as it should be to many other cultures in the country, in Asia, in the continent, on the continent. So the Black Nazarene. So going back to the Black Nazarene and the devotion to the child Jesus, the Black Nazarene is such a compelling image for Filipinos because it tells us that God is black. God is dark-skinned. God is carrying the cross. Those are powerful metaphors of the very experience of Filipinos, right? It's not imperial. It's a humble, serving faith. I feel that this is the kind of Christianity that could inspire the many other Christians around the continent. Christians who are in the midst of persecution, Christians who cannot even express their faith, you know, for fear of religious consequences. conflict and whatnot. I feel that that's where Filipinos can be effective agents of change and agents of inspiration.
Thank you very much. It's very enlightening. And thank you. This is Joe Torres for Up Close.